I used to think I knew what love looked like. 4 years of marriage, and I really believed we had something real. Not perfect, nothing ever is, but real. The kind of partnership where you trust the other person to have your back, no matter what. Where you don't keep score, where you build something together. Looking back now, I'm not sure she ever saw it that way. We didn't have kids yet. At the time, I thought that was temporary, something we'd get to when the time was right. Now, I thank God every single day that we didn't. No children caught in the crossfire, no innocent lives destroyed by what was coming. I worked a decent corporate job, nothing glamorous but stable, good benefits, enough to keep us comfortable while she figured things out. That's what she called it, figuring things out. What it actually meant was sitting at home, scrolling through Instagram, pretending she was building some kind of personal brand that never materialized into a single dollar. I didn't push her. I wasn't one of those husbands who needed his wife to work. If she wanted to take time, fine. But it wasn't the lack of ambition that bothered me. It was her friend. Or more specifically, it was Jessica. Jessica. God, I hated that woman from the moment I met her. Loud, manipulative, entitled, the kind of person who thrives on drama because her own life is so empty she needs to feed off everyone else's. She had an opinion about everything and a solution for nothing. And my wife, she worshipped her. Every single time my wife came home from hanging out with Jessica, there was a fight. Without fail. Suddenly I was controlling for asking where she'd been until 2 a.m. I was boring for wanting quiet evenings at home instead of expensive girls' nights out. I was financially abusive for questioning why she needed a $500 spa day when we were supposed to be saving for a house. The pattern was so obvious it hurt. Jessica was poison, and my wife was drinking it willingly, cup after cup. But about 6 weeks ago, something shifted. My wife became distant, cold. She stopped looking me in the eye when we talked. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Hell, she stopped laughing at all. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always face down on every surface, always out of reach, always locked. She started going out more, always with Jessica, she said. Late nights, vague excuses. We're just catching up, she'd tell me. Jessica's going through something, she'd explain. I need girl time, she'd insist. And then the intimacy stopped. Completely. She'd turn away from me in bed, claiming she was tired or stressed or just not in the mood. Weeks went by. Then a month. I stopped trying. What was the point? I didn't confront her. I didn't beg. I didn't play the jealous husband, demanding answers and making a scene. Instead, I watched. I observed. I started asking myself the one question every husband dreads. Is she cheating? One night, she came home at 2 a.m. I was still awake, sitting in the dark living room. She stumbled through the door, reeking of wine and cologne. Cologne that sure as hell wasn't mine. She didn't even look guilty, just annoyed that I was still up. That's when I made the decision. The next morning, I called a private investigator. Cost me $3,500 up front. I didn't hesitate. I didn't second guess. I needed the truth, and I needed it airtight. Evidence that couldn't be explained away or gaslit into oblivion. For the next 4 weeks, I played the role of the oblivious husband. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I asked about her day. And every night, after she fell asleep, I reviewed the investigator's reports. Hotel check-ins, parking lot meetings, restaurant receipts, timestamps, photos. She wasn't just cheating. She was cheating with Jessica's husband, Mark. Let that sink in. Her best friend's husband. The woman she claimed to love like a sister. The woman whose home she visited for girls' nights. She was screwing that woman's husband behind both our backs. The investigator even managed to recover deleted text messages from her iCloud backup. The things she said to him. The lies she told me. The way she laughed about how clueless I was. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just filed everything away, methodically, like I was preparing a case, because I was. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from her. "Jessica and I need to talk to you tonight. Be home by 7. This is important." I stared at that message for a long time. I knew exactly what was coming. The trap they thought they were setting. The ultimatum. The attempt to blindside me, to corner me, to make me the villain in their little drama. They had no idea I'd seen this coming for weeks. I spent the rest of the day preparing. I printed the photos. I organized the evidence by date and location. I rehearsed my lines, tested my tone. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to lose control. I was going to destroy them. When 7 p.m. rolled around, I heard the key in the lock. The door opened. My wife walked in first, Jessica right behind her. Both of them had these smug, rehearsed smiles, like they were about to deliver bad news to a child. They sat down on my couch. My wife reached over and took Jessica's hand. Both of them looked at me like I was the problem, like I was the one who needed to be managed. The tension in that room was unbearable. The air was thick, suffocating. I leaned back in my chair, folded my hands, and waited. The stage was set. My wife started talking first. Her voice was calm, measured, too calm, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this speech in front of a mirror. "I've been unhappy for a long time," she began, not quite meeting my eyes. "Our marriage has lost its spark. I feel trapped. I need space. I need freedom to explore who I am." Jessica nodded along like a puppet master pulling strings. "You deserve to be happy, girl," she said warmly, placing a hand on my wife's shoulder. "You can't sacrifice yourself for someone else's comfort." I didn't say anything. I just sat there, watching, waiting. My wife took a breath. "So, I've been thinking, I want an open relationship," she announced. Silence. "And if you don't agree," she continued, her voice hardening, "then I want a divorce, and I'll make sure you lose everything in court." Jessica smirked. She actually laughed. A short, sharp bark of amusement, like this was all some hilarious game. Like I was some pathetic fool about to roll over and beg for mercy. That laugh was the trigger. I leaned forward slowly, locking eyes with Jessica. My voice was calm, steady, ice cold. "Stop laughing," I said quietly. The room went silent. The smirk slid off Jessica's face. I turned to my wife. "You're not unhappy because of me," I stated evenly. "You're unhappy because you've been f***ing Jessica's husband in hotel rooms for the past 6 weeks. And you think I'm the fool here?" The color drained from both their faces. My wife's mouth fell open. No sound came out. Jessica's eyes went wide, darting between me and my wife like she was trying to process what I'd just said. I didn't give them time to recover. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder the private investigator had sent me, and started swiping through the photos. My wife and Mark entering a hotel lobby. Timestamp, 2:47 p.m., October 14th. Another photo, them getting into his car outside a restaurant. Another, him kissing her neck in a parking garage. I held the phone up so both of them could see. "You want to ruin me in court?" I asked calmly. "Go ahead and try. I've got hotel receipts, GPS logs, text messages recovered from iCloud backups, and enough photo evidence to bury both of you. You think I've been sitting here like an idiot? I hired a private investigator 4 weeks ago. I know everything." My wife's hands started trembling. This isn't what it looks like," she stammered desperately. "Shut up," I said firmly, not yelling, just final. Jessica's face twisted from shock to pure rage. She turned on my wife like a rabid animal. "You told me you were done with him," she screamed. "You said you guys weren't even sleeping together anymore." My wife's voice rose in panic. "It was a prank! Baby, I swear to God it was just a prank!" she pleaded, looking at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Jessica thought it would be funny to see how you'd react." "A prank!" Jessica exploded, her voice shaking with fury. "You've been screwing my husband!" Jessica lunged at my wife, slapping her hard across the face. I didn't move. I just sat there and watched. Watched the friendship implode in real time. Watched Jessica shove my wife off the couch. Watched my wife scramble backwards, sobbing, makeup smeared across her face. Watched Jessica scream every insult in the book, cheating witch, snake, liar, homewrecker. I didn't feel guilt. I felt satisfaction. When they were both exhausted, voices hoarse, tears streaming, clothes disheveled, I stood up. "Get out," I said calmly. "Both of you. You'll receive copies of everything I have tomorrow morning. Jessica, if you want your own evidence package for your divorce lawyer, hire your own investigator. I'm not your friend." Jessica, still shaking with rage, looked at me with desperate, pleading eyes. "Please," she begged, her voice breaking. Just give me the files. I need them to take Mark down." I looked her dead in the eye, raised my middle finger and pointed to the door. My wife was sobbing now, full-body convulsions, clinging to the doorframe as I walked toward her. "Please, baby, please," she wailed desperately. "We can fix this. I'll do anything." I grabbed her wrist, pulled her hand off the frame, and stepped back. Then I closed the door in her face, locked it, slid the deadbolt. And for the first time in weeks, the house was quiet. I stood there in the silence, breathing slowly, feeling my heart rate return to normal. It was done. The next 72 hours were chaos. My wife didn't leave. She couldn't. She sat in her car outside the house, crying, texting me nonstop. Hundreds of messages, voicemails, wall of text apologies, promises to change, threats to expose me. For what, I had no idea. I ignored every single one. I was already 3 steps ahead. The morning after the confrontation, I sat across from my divorce attorney, a sharp, no-nonsense lawyer I'd quietly consulted 2 weeks before I even confronted my wife. Her name was Linda Garrison, and she had a reputation for dismantling cheaters in court. We filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. In our state, infidelity directly impacts asset division and alimony eligibility. Linda was confident. "She'll get nothing," she assured me. "Maybe 15% of marital assets if the judge is feeling generous. But alimony? Forget it." I also filed for a temporary restraining order. My wife's constant presence outside my house, the unhinged messages, the veiled threats. It was more than enough for the court to grant an emergency order. She was legally barred from coming within 500 feet of me or the house. Violation meant immediate arrest. 2 days later, a sheriff's deputy showed up at her car and handed her the papers. I watched from the window as she read them, watched her face crumble, watched her drive away. With nowhere else to go, she called her parents. They already knew. I'd sent them the evidence the same night I confronted her, not out of cruelty, out of necessity. I knew she'd spin the story, play the victim, claim I was the abuser, the controller, the one who drove her to this. So I got ahead of it. Her father, a retired Marine with zero tolerance for dishonesty, disowned her over the phone. "You made your bed," he told her coldly, according to what she texted me later. "Now lie in it." Her mother, heartbroken but firm, echoed the same sentiment. My wife tried to stay with Jessica next. That door was slammed even harder. Jessica was in her own meltdown, filing for divorce from Mark, packing her bags, and publicly blaming my wife for seducing her husband. As if Mark had no agency. As if he wasn't a grown man who made his own choices. But Jessica needed a villain, and my wife was the easiest target. The two women who'd been inseparable for years now hated each other with nuclear intensity. My wife ended up in a cheap motel on the edge of town. No job, no money, our joint accounts had been frozen per Linda's advice. No friends, no family. Just her phone, a suitcase, and the crushing weight of her own choices. Meanwhile, I didn't gloat publicly. I didn't post on social media. I didn't tell mutual friends the sordid details. I didn't have to. The truth spread on its own. Jessica, in her rage, told everyone who would listen. Mark, desperate to save face, admitted the affair to his own family in a pathetic attempt to control the narrative. My wife's public meltdowns, showing up drunk at Jessica's house, screaming in parking lots, did the rest. Within a week, everyone knew. At work, I kept my head down, professional, focused. A few close colleagues noticed I seemed quieter than usual, but I deflected with vague answers. Just dealing with some personal stuff, I'd tell them. I'll be fine. One night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. You destroyed my life. I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, No, you destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. I blocked the number. A few days later, another text came through, this time from Mark. It was long, rambling, pathetic. He apologized, said he was manipulated, begged for forgiveness, asked if we could move past this like men. I deleted it without responding. Some people don't deserve closure. I also received a message from Jessica, short and bitter. Thank you for the truth. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I didn't respond to that either. I wasn't anyone's hero or villain anymore. I was just done. One evening, I went through the house and gathered the last of my wife's belongings, old clothes, books, cheap jewelry, trinkets. I stuffed everything into garbage bags and drove them to Goodwill. I didn't burn them dramatically. I didn't keep them as trophies. I just let go. When I got home that night, I sat alone in the kitchen with a beer, staring at the empty chair across from me, the one she used to sit in. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel broken. I just felt done. The divorce proceedings moved fast, faster than I expected. My wife couldn't afford a good lawyer. She tried to represent herself at first, which was an absolute disaster. She showed up to the preliminary hearing 2 weeks after I filed, looking disheveled, emotional, completely unprepared. Her paperwork was incomplete. Her arguments were rambling and incoherent. Linda dismantled her in minutes. My wife tried to claim I was emotionally abusive, that I controlled the finances, that I isolated her from friends and family, that I drove her to seek comfort elsewhere. Linda calmly presented bank statements showing my wife had full access to our joint accounts and spent freely on spa days, designer clothes, and expensive brunches. She presented text messages showing my wife had initiated the open relationship conversation as leverage, not out of genuine desire. And then she dropped the nuclear bomb. The private investigator's full report, hotel receipts, GPS logs, photos, text messages. The judge flipped through the evidence with a stone face. At one point, he looked up at my wife and asked sternly, "Ma'am, you're claiming emotional abuse while simultaneously conducting an affair with your best friend's husband. Do you see the contradiction here?" My wife stammered weakly. I was unhappy. He never listened to me. He didn't make me feel loved." The judge cut her off immediately. "Your feelings don't justify infidelity," he stated flatly. "Move on." I sat in the back of the courtroom and watched her credibility evaporate in real time. The final settlement came down 3 weeks later. It was brutal for her. No alimony. Adultery disqualifies her in our state. 15% of marital assets. I kept the house, the car, the retirement accounts, the savings. Responsible for her own legal fees. Restraining order extended for 1 year. She left the courthouse in tears, looking 10 years older than she had 2 months ago. I left in silence. But the fallout didn't stop there. Jessica's divorce from Mark was even messier. Mark, desperate to salvage his reputation, threw my wife under the bus in his own court filings. He painted her as a manipulative seductress who pursued him relentlessly. It was pathetic. Grown man playing the victim. But it worked. Jessica's lawyer tore him apart financially. Mark lost his house, lost his car, lost half his retirement, and lost all credibility with his own family. Meanwhile, my wife became a pariah. Mutual friends ghosted her. Her social media was flooded with accusations and insults. People she'd known for years called her a homewrecker, a liar, a fraud. She deleted all her accounts within a week, just vanished from public view. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to another city, living with a distant cousin, working some low-wage retail job just to make rent. No more spa days, no more luxury brunches with Jessica, no more pretending she was an influencer, just survival. I felt nothing. Not pity, not satisfaction, just a quiet, hollow sense of closure. One evening, about a month after the divorce was finalized, I got another message from Mark. Long, rambling, desperate. He apologized again, said he understood if I hated him, asked if there was any way we could move forward. I deleted it without reading past the first line. Then I got a message from Jessica. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but thank you for the truth. I'm sorry I didn't see what she was sooner. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her I didn't blame her for my wife's actions, to tell her I hoped she found peace. But I didn't, because the truth is, Jessica played her part too. She enabled my wife. She encouraged the worst parts of her. She fed the entitlement, the selfishness, the delusion. Maybe she didn't know about the affair, but she knew my wife was lying to me, and she didn't care. So I deleted that message too. A week later, I boxed up the last remnants of my old life. Wedding photos, anniversary cards, a framed picture of us on our honeymoon, smiling like we had the whole world ahead of us. I didn't burn them. I didn't throw them away in anger. I just put them in a box, taped it shut, and stored it in the attic. Out of sight, out of mind. That night, I sat on the back porch with a whiskey, watching the sun set over the trees in my backyard. The house was quiet, peaceful, mine. For the first time in months, I took a deep breath and felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no bitterness, just stillness. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I sat alone in my house now fully and legally mine, and took stock of my life. I didn't win in the fairy tale sense. There's no new woman on my arm. I'm not rich or famous or celebrated. I'm just free. Free from the lies, free from the manipulation, free from the weight of pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. But freedom has a cost. I'm lonelier than I've ever been. Friends who were our friends chose sides, and most chose neutrality, which, let's be honest, feels like choosing her. My family is supportive but distant. They don't understand why I can't just move on, why I don't want to date yet, why I won't smile more, go out more, get back out there. I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. Work is fine. Actually, I got promoted. Threw myself into my career with a focus I didn't have before. But the victory feels hollow. Success without someone to share it with is just numbers on a screen. Some nights I lie awake and wonder if the revenge was worth it. If exposing her, humiliating her, watching her life collapse brought me any real peace. The answer is complicated. I don't regret it. Not for a second. She made her choices. She weaponized our marriage. She tried to destroy me first, to take everything I'd worked for and leave me with nothing. I simply refused to be the victim. I took control. I protected myself. And yes, there's a grim satisfaction in knowing she can't hurt me anymore. In knowing she's out there somewhere, living with the consequences of her actions. In knowing that every time someone Googles her name, they'll find the truth. But I also know I'll never fully trust anyone again. Not the way I trusted her. That part of me died the night she walked into my house with Jessica and tried to destroy me. That innocent, hopeful part that believed love was real and people meant what they said. That part is gone. I think about her sometimes. Wonder if she's okay. Wonder if she learned anything. Wonder if she ever thinks about me, about what we had, about what she threw away. Then I remind myself, it's not my problem anymore. One night, an old college friend comes through town. We meet at a bar downtown, somewhere neutral, nowhere that holds memories. We talk about work, about sports, about nothing important. Then he asks me directly, "So, any regrets?" I take a sip of my drink. Think for a long moment. "No," I answer finally. "I don't regret protecting myself. I regret believing someone who didn't deserve it." He nods thoughtfully. Doesn't push. We don't talk about it again. When I get home that night, I sit on the back porch, same spot I've sat 100 times since the divorce. The air is cool. The stars are out. The world is quiet. I think about the life I thought I'd have, the kids, the family vacations, the golden years with a partner who loved me, who chose me every single day. That life is gone. But maybe that's okay. Maybe I'll build something new, something real, something that can't be taken from me by lies and betrayal. Or maybe I'll just be alone for a while, and maybe that's enough. I lean back in the chair, close my eyes, and let the silence wash over me. No anger, no bitterness, no pain, just clarity. People say revenge doesn't bring you peace. Maybe they're right. Maybe it doesn't heal the wound or erase the betrayal or make you whole again. But it sure as hell brings you clarity. And sometimes, that's all you need. I open my eyes, look up at the stars, and exhale slowly. I'm not broken. I'm not bitter. I'm not defeated. I'm just here, present, alive, free. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough.